In life, there are times that we need to decide. If this happens, then we'll do plan A. Otherwise, if that happens, then we'll do plan B, and so on. This also happens in C programming. There are several decision making statements, and these are the following. First is the if statement, then the if else statement, then the if else statement, and we have nested if statements and the switch statement. But we will only discuss about the if family statements, okay? The if statement is an optional condition. It is like traveling and you see a house. You will enter the house if you are tired or there's a storm. Otherwise, just continue with your travel without entering the house. The syntax of this statement is the if, then the condition inside the open and close parentheses, then the open curly brace, and the statements to execute if the condition is true, and finally the close curly brace. The flow of this statement is, if the condition is true, it will execute the if codes or the codes inside the open and close curly braces. Otherwise, it is false, it will execute the next code after this statement. This is usually used when checking the property of a number such as positive, even, and so on. It is also used in checking errors from user input, exiting a loop, or a basis for a recursive function, and so much more. We will discuss about the property of a number and checking of errors during our laboratory. Okay? The if-else statement otherwise is not an optional condition because you need to choose between the if and the else. It is like traveling and you need to choose between two paths. You have no choice but to choose only one. The syntax of this statement is still the same. There's the if and the condition, but after the close curly brace, there's an else. And after that, the open curly brace, and inside it are the statements to execute if the condition is false. And finally, the close curly brace for else. The flow of the statement is, if the condition is true, it will execute the if codes. Otherwise, it is false, it will execute the else code. After executing the chosen codes, it will execute the next code after this statement. This is usually used to differentiate the property of a number. For example, add or even, positive or negative, greater than or less than, and more. We will discuss that again on the laboratory. And another one is the if else if else statement. It is the extension of the if else statement. So instead of 2, you have 3 or more choices in this statement. It is like traveling and there are several paths. You check one by one, and if you enter the path you chose without checking the remaining paths, the syntax of this statement is, there's still the if condition, then it is followed by an else if. Then there's the condition, a new condition inside the open and close parentheses. This then followed by the open curly brace and the statements to execute if this condition is true and the condition before it is false. then a closed curly brace. This block of codes or block of else if statements can be copied more than one times. Okay, can be two and so on. And finally, the last part is the else statement. Still the same. This statement has at least one or more else if statements. The flow of this statement is if the condition is true, it will execute the codes inside the if. Otherwise, it is false, it will check the condition 1. If the condition 1 is true, it will execute the codes inside the else if. Otherwise, it will check the next condition and so on. If all the conditions are false, it will execute the codes inside the else. So after executing the chosen codes, it will execute the next code after this statement. This statement has several uses like arithmetic by choosing add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Then solving the zodiac sign with a given date of birth. Then solving your numerical grade and so on. Usually, the else statement is for catching errors. We will discuss some during the laboratory. Then let's go to the nested if statements. So it is an if statement within an if statement and so on. It is like a matroskadal. Do you know that one? This is just another form of an if else if else statement. Another form of this statement that doesn't belong to the if family is also called the switch statement. But we will not discuss about it. So we will end our lesson here so that you can do your assignment number 4. I hope that you understand the syntax of the different decision-making structures. Then next week, we will discuss about looping structures. Thank you and goodbye.